It's Tea Time with Alex, and today we are going to talk about how to avoid burnout. Or rather, I'm going to share the way I lived that caused my burnout, that made me, kind of break to some extent. I'm still broken 1.5 years after my crashing into the wall hard, and today I'm going to tell you what I did that made that happen. I'm going to outline it as a list so you easily can follow along and perhaps take note of what of these points that you are actually hitting as well. And if you are doing more than half of them, if you're recognizing your own behavior in this, maybe, just maybe, you need to take a big thinker about how you're approaching life. Because I just hope that you can learn from my mistake before actually doing it as well. Let's just get into it. The first thing I want to start off with is time. That is how long you put yourself through an intense period. Because anybody can handle a lot of stress for a short amount of time, or perhaps even longer. But when you do it for too long, eventually something's gonna break. Let me first give you some context so you know what kind of life I've been living for the past 10 years. I'm a mechanical engineer within construction, and that's also my work role, constructing small little things. At least that used to be the case. I started studying like 10 years back and mechanical engineering with a master's degree in product innovation. Well, it took me 6 years and it really it was hard for me. I'm not the smartest kid, but I do have work ethic, grit. I had to put the bar on how many work hours to put in daily very high starting out. So when I started working for real, I was just used to doing things all the time. So even though on paper I only had 40 hours of work to do, I easily put in 50 plus hours a week. More to it, I compressed those hours to 4 days a week. Mostly. That is because I wanted my Friday free, so I worked more intensely getting those 50 hours in on 4 days, which is fine in theory, maybe for a while at least. But if you have multiple work or projects running along, it will eat you up, because I worked for 4 days and then I worked at home for 3 days, getting primed with university, realizing that you never have time to rest, you always have to study. I was just in the mood of, now I have worked throughout the week, I have the weekend free, of course I'm gonna do more productive stuff. So my YouTube channel took all of the time, every free time I had. But I loved it, so why shouldn't I do it? But the result is no rest, no time to hang out with friends. It's just nothing over if you work constantly. A work role that is just asking too much of you. Maybe you have a lot of responsibility. Maybe you have too many objectives to take care of. Maybe it's eating you up because there's just no way you have the time available to do everything that is asked of you, or that you think is asked of you. And you just put so much pressure on yourself, so there's no way in hell that you can actually do these things. For me, I worked as a consultant doing my mechanical thingy, 50 hours a week and, doing my thing. And that worked for some years. But the last 6 months before hitting the wall, it got extreme. It got to another point. You see, I got hired to take on this new project to develop 22 new products. I had one teammate that I was also supposed to be teaching. She was newly graduated, so I was there to be her mentor, and adding on to that, it was like a hugely optimistic time budget. It was no way it was gonna be finished in time. It just wasn't doable, but that was what was expected out of us, so that was the playfield. So we just threw ourselves into it and worked our asses off, and it was fun. But I also had another role where I did marketing for the consultant firm I was hired to. And it was just a whole lot of extra responsibility that was burdened upon me. Fun, but too much. And as if that wasn't enough, I also decided to start my own company during these 6 months. That meant taking on some extra workload besides work and besides my YouTube channel, and the whole complex thing of starting up a company and understanding the bookkeeping and all that. It was a lot of things that happened in the same time. But again, I had fun doing all this. I enjoyed it. It was like, damn, bring it on. I'm invincible. Until I eventually started to break down. You know, it's funny. I actually forgot that I also studied university courses online in movie science. Now, it wasn't full time, it was more like 25%, but still I had to sit down and study some hardcore books. And again, I also loved that, and I thought I could do it all. But the results spoke for itself. I couldn't. Anyways, as I'm editing this video right now, I'm realizing that it's just too long. I need to break it up into 2 parts. So this was the first part, and the second part is more shorter, easier identified things that I did that eventually led to the burnout. So stay tuned, because the second part may be clickable right now, or it will happen in a couple of days. See you in the next one. Ciao.